Welcome back to Animate, guys. Video 4, Exercise 3. This is going to be the last one for now. We're going to talk about simple characters, animating them, what they can do, setting up armatures, stuff like that. I've been playing around a little bit, and I'm going to show you what I did here. I have a character. In a second here, you're going to see him wave, and then you're going to see him walk a little bit. So, you can see I've got a couple different layers here. I've got armature, layer 1, layer 2. The layer 1 technically represents the character in the armature, whereas layer 2 is the background. You can see I've got a couple of different, these are no longer called keyframes, they're called poses when you're dealing with an armature, if you remember from your notes. And then I have a motion tween that's going to make the background slide. So I'm going to play it like this, and then I'll play it in the example mode to give you the full effect. Alright, so waves, very simple walk. I'm not going to require anybody to do a walk. I'm not going to require you to even do a walk for the exercise. I think it's a really complex motion. There's a lot of things loaded into it. If you want to do that, you can talk to me about it. However, you might want to have a character wobble around or wave or move its hands or pick something up or something like that. So this is the most basic, or one of the most basic characters that you can make. Obviously, there's no detail in it, but I'm going to show you how to build a character here and how to make it move a little bit. So we're going to X out of that, and I'm going to go to File, New. We're going to start with Action Script again. That's fine. All right. So for your character, it's a good idea to keep things simple. I had that jellyfish from before, from one of the other exercises. That's maybe as complicated as I would get. I like using the brush to do a lot of stuff in here. It's not as perfect as the pen tool and the pre-made shapes, but when you're dealing with animation and organic stuff, sometimes you don't want those super stiff square shapes. So I really like how the brush tool looks instead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little character. I'm going to give it some really simple little legs and really simple little arms, and then we're going to make it move. So the first thing I have to do is I have to draw my character. Again, I'm going to start with using the brush. So I'm going to draw, it's going to be a cactus in a pot with little legs. Alright, now you can add as much detail to this. You can add a crap ton of colors. I'm going to add some more color here in a second. Now you want to start with creating some sort of central body part. That's what this is going to be. I am going to give it little bitty arms that I'm going to stick off the side of the pot, and little bitty legs that I'm going to stick on there as well. But you need to, in order to do this, you need to draw them in separate sections. So down here, I'm just going to give them like floppy little nub legs. I'm going to keep things simple. The character that I had just shown you a minute ago, he was a little bit more complex. Alright, so I've got all my pieces together. Now, mind you, again, they are not touching. This arm is totally isolated. I'm going to stick them together. I want you to think almost like you're building an action figure, and you've got the legs. You got to make the legs separately. You got to make the arms separately, and you're going to, before you sell your action figure, you're going to stick it all together later. Alright, I'm going to go back in and add some color to this. Arms. What we need to do is we actually need to turn all of these pieces into symbols. So if you've been paying attention to the other videos, symbols cannot be messed with. You can't draw over them. You can't accidentally delete them or do anything like that. So we need to select these pieces individually. So you can either do what I just did there with the selection tool, drag out a selection, and you'll see the little dots indicating that this is a sprite. We're going to right click, convert that to a symbol. Now it's smart here to name these things, so I'm going to call it right arm. Again, we're going to keep it a graphic, and you're going to see that it's converted to a symbol. Now, if your object is either a little bit too complicated or maybe it's too close, you can't get a box around it, you also can, with the selection tool, holding down Shift, you can select all the pieces if you have to. So you wouldn't want to do something like the cactus character that I've actually got here. He's got a lot of little pieces. You'd be very likely to miss something. You could definitely do it, but I'm not going to do that. For something a little bit more small like this, that's acceptable. So convert everything to a symbol. All right, now that these are symbols, the body is kind of like in a hard place to reach, so I'm going to move these things away. Oop, all right, and I accidentally picked up the arm, so I'm going to deselect the arm. I'm going to call this one the body. All right, so got my cactus body. I've got all my things. Now that these are symbols, I can actually put them on top of one another, and I'm not going to worry about them overlapping, interacting, anything like that. All right, so I got my weird little cactus pod dude. I've got all my different pieces. I'm going to be able to move my arms. I'm going to be able to move my legs, but I need them to stick together. So in order to do that, we're going to use the bone tool over here. So it looks like a weird little bone. Click on that. The first thing that you want to do with the bone tool is you want to establish a center point. You're going to establish that center point on the body. So I'm going to click here in the center of the body, and I'm going to click, hold, and drag to the point where you want articulation. So I'm going to drag to a point where the arm and the body overlap. All right, and I'm going to drop that, and you can see that it's selected the outside rectangle and it's selected the inner rectangle. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to click from the center, and I'm going to find a place where those two things overlap, and I'll also connect the leg. Come on, there's the leg, and get the other leg. All right, now we can see, got all my pieces here, got my pot. They're connected with the bone tool. I've clicked out of it. I've gone back to the selection tool. If I go back and click on my pot now, you can see I've got my little pieces, but what's even better is now I can move these things up and down. I'm stuck in that distance there. So I can change the angle. I can go up and down. It's a little awkward to control sometimes. It's okay though. You should be able to do just some very simple animation with this. So now that I have my character built, you can kind of think of him as a puppet. I can select all these pieces. That is him. You can see down here it automatically created its own armature layer. Whoop. If you want to move him, unfortunately, you have to use free transform. So I'm going to move him down to the bottom of my page, and if I want to change his positioning, if I want to change what he's doing, I have to, instead of keyframes, we're going to insert poses now. Now what's really great about this is that it actually does the tweening for you. So if you make a change, in the pose, it'll automatically do all the travel in between. So don't change the location with free transform. Go back to your selection tool, grab the individual leg or something, move it around. Okay, and now you can see there's a difference between the two. If I want to go even further, I could make it look like he's jumping. So I could have him go up or do something ridiculous like that. Grab his arms, so his arms are up in the air. Kick his feet out. There you go. All right, so there's a simple little hop, but you could really have a character do anything that you imagine. You could just have him wave. Now, as you can see, I'm just kind of sticking to every 5 frames. I don't have a real plan with him, so I don't know if I want him to be slow or fast. I'm just making things up as I go. Again, if you want your character to move really fast, you should really spread out your poses. If you want him to move a little bit slower, do something that's more close together. Okay. There's a preview. There you go. Little cactus guy jumps in and he waves at you. All right. If you have any questions, by all means, get my attention. Get me over to your computer. I'll check things out. Once you make a little character guy and you make it move around the screen a little bit, show it to me and I'll mark it, and you will be finished with the exercises.